June the 19th, 2025. Guys, very interesting in these couple of days, some of the things that are going on in the way the Democrats are acting like spoiled brats. And they do have some power, but they're really exposing themselves. And that's a good thing, because the ones that we see screaming in the streets and trying to push through meetings and getting locked up and all of that, and then pushing the riots and the protests, they say one thing, do another. And it's really amazing the way they will accuse people of doing exactly what they're doing. We see it all the time. We got the midterms coming up, so again, I'd like to do videos that creates a little bit of exposure to the demons. What you're looking at is a picture from 1868 of a Republican representative, James Hines. Again, going back quite a while. But he was supporting voting rights for former slaves. We went through the emancipation and all of that, and the slaves were free. But James, he wanted them to have more than just freedom. He wanted them to have voting rights. Again, Republican representative. And so what they did was the Democratic KKK Democrats, in the closing weeks of the election, murdered him. They didn't want the slaves to have voting rights. And it's amazing. We saw quite a turnaround this last election and the one before, the Trump election before, not the stolen one from Biden. But a lot of our African-American friends, black friends, whatever you want to say, want to do it politely because I have many, but I can just say it, friends. They, for so long, have voted Democrat. Especially here in the state of Mississippi. You've got Benny Thompson up in the north west section of the state, and either they've got very bad voting machines, or the people there are brainwashed. Now, Benny Thompson, he's way up in the, I think he's in the one of the top, like, military sections of the Senate and House, all of that. But he has a lot of power. But he doesn't have much sense. You can tell it. But he has been paid off a long time by George Soros or whoever's running the Democrats. By the way, I think, what's her name, Anna Pauling? She came out with a resolution. She's a Republican senator, I believe. But she came out with a resolution to make some changes. It's going to be very interesting. And what she wants to get a bill passed, and it's about bringing Soros to justice, bringing him before the Congress and grilling him. She says, why, when we've known for years and years and years who is behind all of this, the color revolutions, the protests, BLM, Antifa, and the last riots we're seeing, why are they always walking loose? His son just got married, out on, was it somewhere in New York to Huma Abedin or whatever Hillary's little thing is. But they just, in broad, open daylight. And for how many years, guys, that we know of, 12, 15, 20, that every time something like that happens, the money always points back to Soros and a few others. But Anna Pauling introduced a bill to bring him up before the Congress. And what now, it seems like there's a little difference in this one, and I hope they've grown a little bit of teeth, and not just some barks, and with toothless dogs. But now they've got the Department of Justice and the FBI all kind of lined up together with the Republicans. So something may happen. And she says, I cannot believe that all the evidence is out there. Every news report points to Soros, and not one congressman or senator on either side has ever even brought up the subject of bringing that demon to court or to the Congress and grilling him, asking him why is he doing this. and then locking his butt up for the rest of his life and taking his son with him. Because they are one of their money, along with some Chinese, is the greatest threat to this country. All of the demonstrations, the riots, the burnings, everything, the attack on the police, paid for by these people, but they're not called up. Now, if you and I started a riot, or we'd be under the jail, right? So Anna Paulina, I think that's her name, has introduced that, and that's going to bring it before the public. Again, exposure. Let's read a little bit more about Mr. Hines. It says, Happy Juneteenth. Today is the day the U.S. celebrates Juneteenth, a little-known date that was recently dug up to divert attention from the real civil rights achievements by brave Republicans who fought to free the slaves. When the Civil War ended, and after Republican President Abraham Lincoln liberated the slaves, Democrats initiated Jim Crow laws to punish blacks. Democrats discriminated against blacks. In fact, the KKK was founded on the terrorist wing of the Democratic Party. And you're going to vote for Benny Thompson? And look at Chicago. Look at the sanctuary cities. But the KKK assassinated many Republicans, including Republican Representative James Hines. Now, he was out of Little Rock, Arkansas, here in the South. And he represented Arkansas in the U.S. Congress from June 24th, 1868 through October 22nd, 1868, before his violent death. And you've seen the screaming by Schumer and Pelosi and Mad Maxine and the Karens that come out to the riots and all of that. And they're blaming it on the Republicans. Now, where in time did the Democrats convince the black people of this nation that they were on their side? It had to be sellouts. Listen to me, friends, like Benny Thompson and other people. They were sold out. They were bought out by the same people that buy the Democrats out. Money. They cared nothing about you in North Mississippi, and I really want you to change that. And everywhere on this planet where you start seeing this rebellion against the Republicans, remember who did things like this, especially on Juneteenth, excuse me. Again, it says the KKK was founded as the activist wing of the Democratic Party. Vote Democrat if you want. And what that does, guys, if you get right down to it, is that tells you when they get your votes, how much they care about you. That's all they want, the votes. They're going to lie, cheat, and steal and throw you under the bus. So think before you vote again, okay? Now, I've tried to use this channel for exposure for a long time, whether it's Democrats or whatever evil is creeping. And so let's read just a little bit more. I'm not going to make it much longer. It says, on September the 28th, 1868, a mob of Democrats massacred nearly 300 African-American Republicans in Opelousas, Louisiana. You still going to vote for them? You still going to get into this crap? The savagery began when racist Democrats attacked a newspaper editor, a white Republican, and a school teacher for ex-slaves. Several African Americans rushed to the assistance of their friend, and in response, Democrats went on a black hunt, killing every American, all of whom were Republicans, every African American in the area they could find. That's what you celebrating Juneteenth for? Democrats in hoods slaughtered hundreds of Republicans and blacks across the country. They beat and threatened and murdered Republicans for standing with the black man. On April 20th, 1871, the Republicans passed the anti-KKK Klan Act outlawing Democratic terrorist groups. Now, I don't care who you are. Slavery is absolute evil. Absolutely. And guys, when you go into your church, and we're talking about this, of course slavery is evil, and the KKK was evil, and the Democrats are still evil. So think about that when you go in your church and people like these representatives and all come in there and try to get your vote. Say, well, what about this video? We want you to watch this video. Show them my video. It says, the last KK official to serve in D.C. was former Senator Robert Byrd, a KKK Kleagle. Byrd was a top Democrat and a friend of Joe Biden. In fact, throughout the civil rights era of the 19th and 20th centuries, Democrats fought against freedom and the rights for the black man, and woman. The only blip of positive news during the 19th century for Democrats was the long-forgotten JuneTeenth celebration. After the great emancipator Abraham Lincoln was murdered by a Democrat, his successor Andrew Johnson sent U.S. troops to Galveston to free the slaves there in Texas. Not a Democrat. The Democrats got wiped out in the election, and guys, you got midterms coming up. They need to be wiped out again. They need to be wiped off the political map of the planet. It said, hence they bamboozle Americans and made it a national holiday. They had to hide their crimes and the bloodshed, the murder. Now, guys, in this section of this article, it says the Democratic Party continues to support slavery. February 9th, 1864, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton delivered over 100,000 signatures to the U.S. Senate supporting the Republican plans for constitutional amendment to ban slavery. June 15th, 1864, Republican Congress votes equal pay for African American troops serving in the U.S. Army during the Civil War. June 28, 1864, Republican majority in Congress repeals the Fugitive Slaves Acts. Who was on your side? How have they convinced? I mean, it's not just one race here. There's a lot of Democrat white people that have had the hood pulled over their eyes also, if you know what I mean. But it says in October 29th, 1864, African-American abolitionist Sojourner Truth says of President Lincoln, I never was treated by anyone with more kindness and cordiality than were shown to me by that great and good man. He had the same sense that many of us have that are true Christians, that hate slavery, hate the thought of it. It's despicable. And the people that did it and try to continue to do it, and it does continue, guys, they are busting people left and right now. Elon Musk, I'm not sure how much he's involved with it, this particular thing, but an article was out yesterday or today about that the mining of the batteries for the EV vehicles is done by child slave labor now, by hand. Elon needs to kind of just say something about that. But it also, just going down, I won't read them all. January 31st, 1865, 13th Amendment banning slavery passed by the U.S. House was with unanimous Republican support. Intense Democratic opposition to banning slavery. Republican Party voted 100%. Democratic Party support was 23%. Go ahead and vote for him if you want to. It goes on down through here. Says on June 19th, Juneteenth, like today, but in 1865, U.S. troops land in Galveston, Texas, to enforce a ban on slavery that had been declared more than 2 years before the Emancipation Proclamation. Still having to go through that. Then, 1866, the Republican Party passes the Civil Rights Act of 1866 to protect the rights of newly freed slaves. It goes on and on and on. And it continues, guys, even in today, if you really look at the Democratic purpose. But I'll link to this article. And you can read till your head spins on how the demons have treated the poorest people, including the white people. ever on this planet. Anybody that they thought was below them, just think about the cotton fields and the Dust Bowl and all of that. Didn't care about anybody back then. And since we had mentioned elections, guys, let's look at a couple things here. December 12th, 1870, Republican Joseph Hayne Rainey becomes the first black duly elected by the people and the first black in the U.S. House of Representatives. Again, a Republican. Now, a lot of folks want to blame the South, but in 1870, 1871, along with rebels, a Republican from Mississippi and Rainey, a Republican from South Carolina, other blacks were elected to Congress from where? Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Virginia, all Republicans. No Democrats. A black Democratic senator didn't show up on Capitol Hill until 1993. Think about that. The first black congressman was not elected until 1935. So when you get behind Schumer and Pelosi and all of that group, and Obama, let's really think about Obama, okay? And what they've done, then you should turn against them with everything you have. They should be voted out. I would like to see the Democratic Party completely voted out, not voted out, but declared a internal terrorist organization, because that's what they are. Look at the riots. Get Soros in there, get the Democrats. But if they don't do that, at least let's do what happened in the last election. Every county went red in all the states. Let's make sure that happens again, because we're exposing the Democrats in the riots, in the war pigs. We got a new one, not really a new one, but one that's jumping in there with Lindsey Graham, big time, is Ted Cruz out of Texas. And if you haven't seen the article with him and Tucker Carlson, Tucker makes him look like a fool for being a warmonger. We just need to get him out. He said, and Tucker's asking him real questions like, well, how many people are innocent people are there? And Cruz couldn't answer. He had no knowledge of the people of Iran or of anything. Just wipe them out. And again, my point is, it's an Israeli war. The only reason the U.S. has ever got involved in the Middle East was to control them and get the oil. But I don't want our troops involved at all. Period. So again, I'm going to link to the article. There's more information here, more instances of how the Democrats have been. And now they're doing the same thing again. As we're watching it, you watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.